Storm, earth, and fire, heed my call.
What's up everyone, it's Waves and today I have a new M+ commentary for you guys. You've seen the title already probably, that we're playing Earthen today. A little bit of backstory, I've been testing different builds and talents on my streams lately. And just to mix it up a little bit, see if there's any talent that people have been sleeping on basically, that could potentially like be a lot of fun to play or is like straight up better than what most people play. So I've just been testing around. And a lot of people in my chat have been complaining that Ascendance has too much of a cooldown to be fun to play in keys. That 3 minutes is just not fun. And that the time between your Ascendances feels really bad. So a lot of people were discussing like playing Elemental Spirits. And no one really mentioned Earthen Spike, because obviously Earthen Spike only works on one target. So for the most part it's like a dead talent. At least most people see it like that. But we put some thought into it and actually noticed that especially in dungeons like Theater of Pain and Spires, where there's a lot of like single target combat and funnel needed basically, that Earthen Spike is actually pretty good. So in this key I tested it. It's a 21 theater. It was at this point the highest theater that I've played so far. And pretty much the idea is I'm playing pretty much just standard Doom Winds, single target Doom Winds like with Elemental Assault. We're playing a lot of haste, then crit verse, pretty much no mastery. And what Earthen Spike does, if you don't know that, it has a 20-second cooldown and you can use it on a target and it gets a debuff for 10 seconds that it takes 20% more physical and nature damage. So physical, definitely very good. We have Storm Strike, we have Wind Fury attacks, we have melee attacks, right, a lot of that stuff. And then for nature damage we have Lightning Bolt, we have Chain Lightning, we have as a Night Fae Fade Transfusion, which for single target by the way, that's actually kind of huge, the buff that you get from that. And it just makes sense because it increases physical damage to play Doom Winds with this, at least in my opinion it makes sense. And yeah, we will see how it plays out in the key. And while we play the key I will obviously just commentate and talk about my thought process, like what I'm planning to do with my cooldowns, when exactly I want to use what, how I like put Earthen Spike into my rotation, and then we will just see how it goes. By the way, I'm playing this in the still current week for EU, Fortified, Sangyu Necrotic. So definitely one of the worst weeks to test this on. This would be very good in my opinion in Tyrannical weeks. And yeah, pretty much in weeks where it's not as punishing to kill mobs way faster than other mobs in the group. And yeah, as I said, Theater and Spires are very good for this. I also played, when it comes to like the Tormented affix with the Anima powers, I played first of all Champion's Brand to get some more crit, but second I played Necrotic Dagger. You may think, okay, why? This is Fortified, right? You don't want Necrotic Dagger in Fortified, you want it for like huge single target damage. But actually, Necrotic Dagger is physical damage and also scales with Earthen Spike. So, especially for this build I'm playing right here, especially in Theater, because a lot of single target damage, you know, it makes sense to go Necrotic Dagger here in my opinion. And yeah, also, the File Trinket from Plaguefall also seems to be scaling with Earthen Spike. It actually ended up doing a lot more damage than it usually does, so we will just send the key, we will just check it out, see what happens, and then I will just commentate you guys through it. So we start the key here, again, as always, use your wolves before it. I'm actually checking the route here just to make sure like how we're gonna play the first pack. We're gonna mount up, we're actually just gonna leave these in the beginning and invis through and just take the big one into the boss fight. That's what you do with most groups. And let's see, Ascendance Burst would be insanely huge here. But let's see what we can do with Earthen Spike. So in my Doom Winds window, by the way, just at the beginning of the key, just to make this clear, when it's a single target Doom Winds window, then I basically use, let's just say my wolves are ready, right? Then I use my wolves, then I use my Doom Winds, then first global in Doom Winds is Earthen Spike, and then I play my typical Doom Winds window. If it's AoE, then I tend to Doom Winds, use my first crash, then use my Earthen Spike on the target that I want to funnel into, and then I play my normal Doom Winds window. That's basically how I'm approaching this. And you can see I'm bursting 30k just funneling everything into the trash mob here so that we get it down pretty quickly. With Ascendance, obviously the opening burst would have been a little bit higher, that's for sure. But when it comes to Earthen Spike, as I said, it has a 20-second cooldown, and the effect is 10 seconds. So basically you can reach, like if you would use it on cooldown, you could reach like a 50% uptime, right? Which is quite strong. But the biggest like benefit that you get from playing Earthen Spike over Ascendance is that you don't have like that one pop every 3 minutes that does like a bunch of damage. You have consistent damage, and it feels like you do all the time, right? And especially since your Doomans is still 1 minute cooldown, right? But if you play Night Fae, you have Fate Transfusion. And you can see I always make sure to Earthen Spike before I Fate Transfuse. Obviously in single target it's a bit better. Here I hit 3 targets because it's really hard to use it on one specific boss here on the first fight in Theater, because obviously there are 3 bosses. But you can see another Doomwinds window, and we get Earthen on this target and just funnel everything into it. Funneling, by the way, a lot of people have been asking me on stream what funneling exactly is. Funneling basically just, as Enhancement Shaman for example, if you use Crash Lightning on multiple targets, it buffs your Storm Strike, your next Storm Strike, by a percentage per target hit, right? So the more targets you hit, the more your Storm Strike will be buffed. So by dealing damage with Crash Lightning to a lot of targets, you buff your Storm Strike that you can funnel that big damage into a specific target then. And that's kind of what you would call funneling on Enhance. And you can see I'm consistently at 10k damage here, and pretty much like damage profile of other classes and for example like enhancements that play Ascendance will in burst be like there's a huge spike and then it goes down again, right? But with this it kind of feels like there is a spike, but like the downward spiral is way slower, you know, like the damage keeps up high the whole time. And you will see this in packs later in this key, how good it actually is. Sorry, the recording just got interrupted there for a second. I used another Doomwinds here just to finish off this fight, because I know that with the RP and until we can go down, stuff like that, my Doomwinds will be ready again. So pretty much on the first fight, 10k DPS. That's not too bad. Obviously the Windwalker did a bit more because of the huge AoE in the beginning. The Boomy didn't do as much. Maybe he got stunned in his frenzy. I don't know exactly what happened. But it's all good. The fight didn't take too long. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still fortified, so it's all good. And we seem to be skipping Sogodon here. We move into the next room here, and on these enemies, my Doomwinds isn't quite ready yet, so I will just hold my Earthen Spike here. I will just cleave a little bit. There we get the big mob, and then when my Doomwinds is ready, that is when I want to use Earthen Spike here. Start my Doomwinds window, crash into Earthen, and then we just funnel everything from these small mobs into the big one. And you can see, I mean, I have to go away from the target a little bit because of the whirlwind, but you can see that the funnel is quite strong here. And you want to always make sure that you know about the dungeon and you know the trash mobs, right? Because in most dungeons and most trash packs, there are like enemies that have more HP than other enemies in the trash pack. And if you know which ones have the most HP, then you can actually start efficiently funneling, basically. Like you definitely don't want, in a pack like this, where you know that the big guy has the most HP, you don't want to Earthen Spike like one of the smallies and just like burn him down instantly. You want to keep, as long as the affixes allow it, basically, you want to keep as many funnel targets alive as long as possible to maximize your funnel into the target that needs the most damage. And yeah, sometimes obviously it's not possible because everyone's cleaving and then they will obviously die at some point. But you definitely don't want to focus them to at least keep them alive as long as possible. And yeah, pretty much I use another Doomwinds here. With this build, you don't want to sit on Doomwinds for too long. In general, you don't want to sit on Doomwinds for too long, but especially with this build, you are just here for the single target damage, right? The Windwalker does a ton of AoE. The Boomy in cooldowns does a lot of AoE. So pretty much the Boomy is useless anyways outside of Frenzy, and the Windwalker is definitely not as strong when it's only one target. So you, especially as an Earthen Spike Enhancement Shaman, you just want to make sure that that you can do as much single target damage as possible, because your cooldowns have a very low cooldown. So you can just use them over and over again and not have to waste Windwalker or Boomy cooldowns for that all the time. And yeah, that's pretty much what we want to take care of. You can see, by the way, throughout this key, you will always see that the initial burst of this build is not gonna be that high, right? I mean, in some cases it will be on some specific trash packs, but sometimes it won't be as high, but it's like consistency that you get. Because with Earthen Spike, like your damage is ramped up the whole time, and you don't really have these packs where you don't do anything, right? Like, by the way, there I take the Necrotic Dagger, as I said earlier. Like with Ascendance sometimes, if you did Ascendance and Doom Winds, right, and then there's a pack afterwards, sometimes it feels like you're not doing anything, right? And even though Earthen Spike isn't like a 200% damage increase, it's just 20%, it still feels like you're doing way, way more than if you didn't have Earthen Spike, basically. So in this room, I'm not sure if we're gonna pull everything. Okay, we're actually pulling everything. So I'm funneling into this one, and you can see, even though I'm not playing like the biggest AoE build, I'm doing 34k DPS, right? And funneling all of it into the small caster mob here. Obviously, Windwalker's gonna do more. He's bursting way more, obviously. Windwalker, the biggest AoE burst class at the moment. If I played Ascendance, yes, from that Ascendance pop on all the enemies here, I would have done more damage than with Earthen Spike, that's for sure. But then my damage would have been gone for 3 minutes again, right? So for playing Earthen Spike here, bursting 34k, killing all the smallies, funneling everything into the casters to get them down really quickly, felt really good. This felt really rewarding. And now we move on to this triple pack here. My Doomans is already almost ready again. And especially, I would say, like compared to other specs that you play the dungeon with, especially on packs like this, where it's like not like 10 targets, but rather like a small amount, let's just say like 3 to 4 targets, where then you can funnel during your Doomwinds window. That feels insane. Because I feel like on low cleave amounts, like low amounts of targets cleave, basically, that is where a lot of specs are struggling to do a lot of damage. But Enhance has a really good time doing that, because we're really good at cleave. And right here, I mean, you can see it, right? The Boomy's not doing anything, because obviously he's not going to use cooldowns on this. So he's doing like healer damage. And then the Windwalkers are strong in big AoE, but the less targets you have, the weaker they get. And you can see that like 3 targets is definitely not their strength. And that's where Enhance can shine, basically. So I think the plan here is to play the Lieutenant and then skip the big guy, because you can just skip them without even invising or shrouding or whatever. So we will just send the Druid in here to pull the Lieutenant, and then we're gonna play this one. For Lieutenants as well, this build is also very strong, because obviously it's single target. You can Doomwinds, Earthen Spike, one of them. As you can see, Doomwinds, Earthen Spike, then we play the typical Doomwinds window. And afterwards, like when you do this, when you have Transfusion ready and your Doomwinds ready, then you want to Doomwinds, Earthen Spike, play a normal Doomwinds window, and then the next Earthen Spike will be Fate Transfusion, right? So you can see my Earthen Spike is coming up in 1 second. I'm using it here into Fate Transfusion, and the whole Fate Transfusion will be buffed by 20%. So I know that a lot of people will ask me, is this usable with Venthyr, is this usable with Kyrian? Yes, obviously you can play this with whatever Covenant you want to. In my opinion, the biggest benefit though you will get from playing Night Fae, because Night Fae's Covenant ability does nature damage, so it's just very useful for the Earthen Spike playstyle. Also, Fate Transfusion has always been that one ability that helps our single target damage a bit in keys, and just amplifying that with Earthen Spike is just gonna have a lot of value over the other Covenants. That doesn't mean that the build itself won't work. That just means that the interaction between Earthen Spike and the Covenant ability is the best when you play Night Fae, in my opinion. So here we have the next pack. Again, huge pack. We Doomwinds this, we crash it, and then we funnel all of it into the caster again. I'm bursting almost 30k again. Very nice. It definitely feels really good. It basically feels like, honestly, on a 60-second cooldown, you have burst for single target, for cleave, for AoE. It doesn't matter what pack you pull, every 60 seconds, which in a high key, especially on Fortified, that's pretty much every pack, you have damage prepared. So on this pack, you can see, because we killed this pretty quickly with my Doomwinds isn't ready, right? I still have 25 seconds of cooldown. but it doesn't mean that I can't use Doom Winds in this pack. That just means that I have to delay it. And yes, it would be nice to pad overall damage or whatever, to have Doom Winds and Sundering and whatever, while these small enemies are still alive, right? But as you can see, the small ones will die, and now we have 2 enemies left, but they have a ton of HP, right? They have to die. And the damage profile of my group, or the other DPS, is not perfect for 2 targets. So what does that mean? Exactly, I drop Doom Winds, and I just use a Cleave Doom Winds here, and just funnel everything into the big guy. Because Enhance with Doom Winds, you have damage for everything. As I said, single target, AoE, Cleave, it doesn't matter. You always have an answer to it. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. Unfortunately, we lost the Druid, not that he was doing any damage anyways on this pack without Frenzy. But yeah, I used my Fate Transfusion here. I didn't Earthen Spike Transfuse because I kind of just sent the Transfusion to get the healing out of it. So it was more of a defensive Fate Transfusion instead of like an offensive one, which is why I missed out on the Earthen Spike bonus on that one. But yeah, it was more important to save the group there to get the healing out. And so yeah, it doesn't always have to be all about damage output, obviously. So now I think what the plan is here, we want to grab the 2 adds and pull them onto God Shop. Kind of a risky pull in 21 Fortified. You definitely gotta make sure to kill these at some point. In the beginning, my opening burst, because I have so good funnel, I will funnel from these adds into the boss. So we use Bloodlust here, everything, I use a potion. I use Crash during my Doom Winds window, funnel everything into the boss to get the boss as low as possible. I even pull aggro here. I'm tanking the boss right now, still tanking it. I think he should taunt it in a second. Blink over here, I'm still tanking the boss, still tanking the boss, still tanking the boss. And now he taunts it. And now that the funnel is over, basically, I switch to the adds. We lose the healer here, but we instantly battle res him. Definitely sketchy if you have these adds here as well, with the necrotic stacks on the tank. So now is the time where I switch to the adds to get them down, so that the tank has a little bit of an easier time resetting his stacks. One of the deceased horrors is already dead. We're just trying to kill the second one. I interrupt the shield here. And I'm losing a bit of damage here by playing it like this, but it's really important that the ad dies. The Sanguine luckily despawned before I ran into it. I kind of get hooked here, unfortunately, because I was so like focused on killing the ad, so I didn't pay that much attention to the hooks, but it's all good. Now in this situation, the tank has very high stacks, right? He's at 30 stacks. The boss is constantly like spawning different ads that will ramp up his necrotic even more. So what the Windwalker thought is that he can go to the other side of the room, taunt the boss, let the stacks on the druid reset, and then the tank taunts it back, right? Which is a good move. That's what you have to do here to save the tank. I didn't think about that, and I can see that my Fate Transfusion is ready, and I'm in my Earthen Spike. Actually, no, I think it's gonna be the next Earthen Spike. But basically, I tried to find the perfect like single target moment to use my transfusion here. And it happens to be the exact moment that they will do the taunt swap, which will obviously kind of fuck me over in my Fate Transfusion. But honestly, I just didn't think about that they wanted to do that in this specific situation. So you can see, I Earthen Spike, I sent my Fate Transfusion, and then they taunted it over. So pretty much my whole Fate Transfusion was wasted. And I was a little bit angry about it, but at the end of the day, like playing with a pack group, I wasn't in voice with these people, I don't know who they are. It's always a risk that you take, that sometimes they do plays that you don't foresee, so you just have to kind of play more of a reactive gameplay and not like pre-planning that much. So yeah, a Fate Transfusion wasted, but it is what it is. We can still continue. It's not that big of a deal, even though it would have been nice, because I even used my Earthen Spike for it. I will actually hold my Doom Winds here. I will not send another one, I will just play another normal Earthen Spike window, not using my Doom Winds, just saving it for the next pack, because the boss will die in just a second anyways. And yeah, you can already see that bosses take quite a while. Even in Fortified, like if the key is high enough, we're playing a 21 right here, even in Fortified the bosses take a while. And what my intention always is, especially when I play this build, is that in high Fortified weeks, people always go full AoE. Like the full group is always full AoE spec, because everyone wants to pad over all so bad, right? and then you just end up playing bosses in high keys, even in Fortified, and you just sit there for like 4 minutes playing the same boss, and it feels like the boss is just not dying and not dying and not dying, right? And so to have like 1 DPS in the group, which in that case would be me, that can actually like do not only AoE damage but also like a lot of single target damage, is very beneficial. And you can clearly see that on the boss fights. And some people will say, yeah, but the Windwalker did more damage than you on that boss fight. Yes, he did, obviously, but that's because we pulled 2 enemies on top of the boss, and then the boss spawns at as well. So, you know, he had a lot of AoE to do. I'm not sure why the tank is playing these in this room, by the way, where you have to dodge them and the green circles, which is actually what I get hit by here. I don't know, most of the tanks just pull them out onto the staircase. Maybe he didn't do it because Sogodon is still there, because we skipped that and he didn't want to risk us pulling it, which I can see that. But putting it into that room, so he has to kite them because of the necrotic stacks, and then you also have to take care of the green puddles on the ground. Wasn't the easiest to play. I mean, I got hit there. Luckily, no one else did. But yeah, just something I wasn't used to, because normally they don't do that. But yeah, I could use my Doom Winds here, and you can see what I just said, that I can pretty much use Doom Winds on every pack. Because I used it on the first souls, and now it's already back up again, so I can use it on these as well. And yeah, you can see some people had damage on the first souls, they don't have any damage on the second souls. But when it comes to me, I had damage on the first souls, and I have a ton of damage for the second souls as well. Of course, the Windwalker as well, like when it comes to AoE, he always has damage. As long as he gets dance procs, Windwalkers can just spin the win every time. But you get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. The Boomy, pretty much, as always, Venthyr Boomy. We don't have to start the discussion about Venthyr Boomies, but TLDR, they are useless outside of Frenzy for the most part. There are definitely better and worse Boomies, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird damage profile to play around. I think that Venthyr Boomies are way better in pre-mates, where you actually can, you know, time your cooldowns and like talk about where they get used and who uses what and stuff like that, right? So in packs it's always hard to play Venthyr Boomy, in my opinion. But it's all good. We got all the damage that we need. I mean, as you can see, right now he used Frenzy and he's just completely destroying both of these enemies, while we are not doing as much. I mean, I'm kind of doing a lot of damage. Again, just goes to show and proves that with Earthen Spike Doom Winds, you pretty much always have damage no matter what pack you're playing. And yeah, so we get this one down. I take the Shroom that gives us self-healing. Very good for enhancement, in my opinion. And then we go over to the next portal. This pack, by the way, another good example. This pack, when you play typical Doom Winds with Ascendance, I always feel like I don't have damage here, and I sometimes feel like I want to use Doom Winds here, but you never can use Doom Winds here, because you need it on the next pack, because the next pack is quite difficult, and then I always feel useless on this pack. But Earthen Spike kind of gives it this edge, where I feel like I'm not useless playing these two enemies, because I can just do a little bit more damage than I would usually do, and it feels a lot better. I don't know like what your guys' thoughts are about like if this is better than Ascendance at the end of the day in those specific dungeons. I know that in like huge AoE dungeons, Ascendance will still be better. I'm not saying this is the new meta or anything, just don't assume shit, right? I'm just saying this is fun to play. This was, to me, a lot more fun to play than Ascendance. I enjoyed this way more. The playstyle is very smooth. It kind of just fits into the Doom Winds rotation perfectly. Yeah, it just kind of adds to it, in my opinion. It's not like a distraction or anything from typical Doom Winds play. It's more like an addition to it to make it even more fun, smooth out the gameplay, and on top of that, it's also very strong. So yeah, I would definitely recommend if you're playing a Theater, if you're playing Aspires, if you're playing Tyrannical Week in general, and you want to test this, go for it. It's actually a lot of fun. So here I have the debuff, so I used everything here, by the way. I used my health stone, I healed myself a little bit. The tank dies here, so instantly Earth Alley. We get Trance out as well instantly, and then we get the Battle Rest on the tank here to stay alive. In the beginning of this Portal Guardian, I also, again, I had Earthen Spike Fate Transfusion to get the most damage out possible. And you can see, again, that me and the Windwalker are just destroying that, while the Boomy is legit not doing anything. Outside of Frenzy, what can I say? We don't have to repeat it the whole key, I'm just saying that. Yeah, it's quite obvious. I would also say that Theater is probably like one of the worst dungeons for boomies, for Venthyr boomies that is. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's, I feel like every time I play a Theater with a Venthyr boomie, it's just insanely bad. I don't know. So right here I purge the Bone Shield, and then we just funnel everything into the Bone Magus. We want to get those 2 down, because I think he wants to chain the Bone Reaver into the side packs. I'm not sure if he actually does it in this key, but that's what a lot of tanks do. They kill off the casting mobs here, the small ones, and then they, yeah, exactly, then they go over to the side packs and kill that. Because pretty much the Bone Reaver in the middle, you don't even have to fight him. Like he will just follow you around and will just die in cleave. Like he doesn't do anything like too dangerous as long as you dodge the spikes. And obviously when he does the Bone Storm, you just dodge that as well. And he doesn't do anything else otherwise. So you can just passively cleave him down while you clear out the packs at the sides here. And yeah, that's just gonna be efficient trash count in my opinion. So at this point I focus him a bit because the Magus is gonna die anyways. And I wasn't sure if we're gonna play both sides or only one side. It appears that we will only play one side. So I get a Fate Transfusion here. And we just kill him off. And then we move on to the next portal. And so far the key looks pretty clean. Oh, he actually, does he want to play it? I actually can't remember if we actually end up playing this. I don't know what he was talking about. I think they were talking in the group, like they were chatting a bit. Obviously I was streaming, so I just took the time to talk with my chat. We instantly get the 2 purges on the Bone Shields. We play another Doomwinds here. As I said, Doomwind's pretty much ready all the time anyways. And we just funnel into the 1 Magus. The other one is dying as well. At the end, before we kill it, I just switch over so they die at the same time. Perfectly done, and we move over to the next one. I won't have Doomwinds for this, but after this will be the boss anyways. So saving my Doomwinds here to have it for the boss, definitely beneficial. The only thing that you want to watch out here for is the Death Winds, that you don't get knocked down. I actually had it in a 21. I think it was it this week as well? Could have been either this week or the week before that, where I already played a 21 Theater. And a healer just got knocked down by the Death Winds, and that legitimately killed the key. And it was, I think it was actually like a zero death key before that. Like it was very fucking clean. We get to this point, healer gets knocked off, key is done. Just like that. In one mistake, the key is done. Because this is like very, very frustrating. If you get knocked down, you have to release, you have to walk all the way back. It takes like a minute and a half or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely devastating if you do that one mistake. So definitely watch out for the Death Winds. If you get hit by anything else, obviously it's going to be bad, but not as bad as getting knocked down and having to run all the way back basically. So it takes a while, but we get him down here, and then we can just continue to Zav the Unfallen, which is arguably the most annoying boss in this dungeon, because it has like so much HP. You need so much single target damage. It doesn't spawn any ads or anything. There isn't any movement, but yeah, it's just a lot of single target damage that you need, and it's just annoying to play. So we're gonna run in. I have all the cooldowns in the book. We use Bloodlust into my Doomwinds, Earthen Spike, and then we just pump. Obviously, there's still some RNG to the build, by the way. Depending on how many Stormbringer procs you get during your Doomwinds window, it's gonna do way more or way less damage. That's kind of obvious. But in my opinion, like compared to like Ascendance, the damage that you would lose if you don't get a lot of Stormbringer procs is way more for, like, it doesn't feel as bad as an Ascendance without procs, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And even if you have a Doomwinds window without a lot of procs, like a Doomwinds Earthen Spike window, you get the next Earthen Spike in 10 seconds anyways, and you get the next Doomwinds in 60 seconds anyways, right? So at the end of the day, it doesn't feel as punishing if you're unlucky with procs, and that's what I really like about it. You can see single target damage, insane. I'm even still doing more than the Boomy with Frenzy, so definitely very good. Paladin with Ashen, obviously Ashen during Bloodlust was big pumping as well. Even the Windwalker, for being a Windwalker and single target, he's doing a lot of damage as well. I get my next Doomwinds window, and you can see the damage of the Boomy is just falling off after the Frenzy. My damage after Doomwinds Earthen Spike, it's going down a little bit, and then I get the next Doomwinds window and it's going up again, you know? So it's very stable, it's very consistent. it's a lot of damage the whole time basically, and that feels very good. By the way, I'm sorry, this is a stream recording. I apologize for all the follow notifications that we have that in here. Maybe at some point I can find a fix where on stream it's displaying, but like on the VOD the follows won't be displaying. So yeah, I apologize that we have that show up all the time during the video, but yeah, I think the important parts of the key you will still see. I hope it's not too distracting. So now we go into the last chapter of the dungeon, which are the Halls of Might, and this is basically where you have a lot of like huge HP single target fights. You have this, then you have an AoE pack, then you have a guy like this again, and then you have the boss. So the last mobs that we were fighting is basically oh, actually, I just realized the last boss wasn't called Zeph. It was Kultharok. Okay, that was actually my bad. I thought it was the other way around. Well, there you go. Then Kultharok is the annoying one, not Zeph. That's my bad. But yeah, you can see we had a single target boss, the most annoying single target boss, into this trash mob. Then we will have a big pack. Then we will have a single target mob again. Then it's another boss again, which is single target. And then it's the last boss, which is single target, right? So you pretty much have a lot of single target fights towards the end of the dungeon. So this is definitely where I'm gonna shine. In this situation, by the way, you see that the tank has been dead for a while, right? And I remember this clearly on stream. I was like, oh, the tank died. Why is he not taking the rest? And then I thought the tank was a 5-head and actually didn't take the rest, so we wouldn't waste our battle rest. And the healer would just pump my Earth Ally because I instantly used my Earth Ally when I saw that the tank died. And he would want to keep the Earth Ally alive. And we kill this guy and then just normal rest the tank. That's what I thought, that the tank and the healer were actually this 5-head. And then we just continue playing it. And continue. And I can see he topped my Earth Ally during that frontal there. We get him down to like almost 10%. I didn't want to use my Doom Winds here. It would have been a little bit safer to get this guy down, but I didn't want to use it anymore. And then he does another frontal. Earth Ally is still alive. I think now my Earth Ally dies. Yes, it died. And because I didn't think that it would die that quickly, I died as well. And then I was like, okay, that's fine that I just died. They will just mass res us and then it's gonna be fine. So then the healer says tank and the tank goes offline. And then I was like, oh, maybe they weren't actually so 5-head, but the tank actually just DC'd. So yeah, tank DC, it is what it is. It's a pug group, what can you do? That's what you have to deal with sometimes. I mean, of course, this could happen in a pre-made as well, but it's just a little bit ironic, I guess. So we just have to sit around and wait for the tank to come back. This is definitely not what you want to see. If a key is going this clean, you're testing a new build, especially in my case, because I wanted to make this into a YouTube video. I wanted to time this key, you know, would have been nice. So the tank is back. I was like, oh nice, he's back. Never mind, he's offline again. So, you know, like, if you could see my reaction, honestly, you know what? I'm going to go back a couple of seconds and I will show you my reaction to this, okay? Let me just move my cam for a second so you can see my reaction on screen. Wait, that's my chat block. One sec, remove that. Okay, this is me on stream. Look at this reaction when I see that he came. Yeah, that he went offline again. Oh my god, I was done. I was done with that shit. Alright, so then the tank was offline again. We had to wait for him again. This is basically just like us losing like 1.5 minutes of the timer. At this point I was like, okay, the key is probably ripped now. The tank is back now though, so I instantly start the res. Oh, he actually gets the battle res. Oh no, he still had a res pending. We actually skipped this pack. My invis potion isn't ready. So actually, due to the tank DCing, it was less embarrassing for me to not have my invis not ready. Like if he didn't DC, I would have had like a 30-second cooldown on my invis potion, or like 1 minute or whatever. So it would have been way worse, from my point of view at least. I lost a bit of damage now here, because I wasn't here obviously to help. But now I'm back. Boomy dies here, but again, Boomy doesn't do damage anyway. He just didn't line of sight the weapon throw there. So what I said earlier, by the way, with the one big AoE pack in between, since we skipped it, it's actually a boss fight, big single target, boss fight, boss fight. So it's 5 single target fights after each other, and it just goes to show that exactly what I said earlier, that enhancement is really good in this situation. So the Boomy released and is walking back to the group here, and now he's back, so he can actually try to help a little bit. He's at 1k DPS right now because he was dead. But yeah, we will get him down. We will have Bloodlust for the last boss, obviously. We're not going to use it for the next one. I won't have Wolves for the next boss, but that's kind of fine. It's not as punishing not having them. Obviously, I want to pair them with Doomwinds because I'm an Orc, and Orc ratio. I definitely want to have Orc ratio during my Doomwinds window, but it also buffs my Wolves because they scale with attack power, so that's also like a good thing that you can do if you're playing Orc. And there's no reason not to line them up, basically. So we get him down. We get less than 7 minutes left for 2 bosses and a little bit of trash, by the way. In this situation on stream, by the way, I forgot that we still had to do trash, which is gonna get me by surprise in a little bit. So we're just gonna play this. I'm gonna use my cooldowns. If you delay it just a tiny bit, you can still get your Sunder onto the boss and the banner during your Doomwinds window, by the way. So if you play this boss, just wait like 1 or 2 seconds before you place your Doomwinds in the beginning here. And then if the spell queuing is correct, you will get the banner instantly where it's still in your Doomwinds window. And then if you position yourself correctly, you can still hit the banner and the boss during Doomwinds with your Sundering. So the Boomy just wants me to kill him here. He probably doesn't have Frenzy, I assume. That's why he doesn't want the damage buff. So I just kill him here. It takes a bit longer than I would have wanted to. You can Fate Transfuse people in the arena. That will make the arena so much quicker. If you Fate Transfuse someone, they will die in like 2 to 3 seconds. It is a little bit wasted though, obviously, because you don't have the damage on the boss. So now here I have Wolves, I have Doomwinds, I have Earthen Spike again. So we can do some big damage here. It looks like the Monk is doing the most, obviously, because he wasn't in the arena. You lose a lot of damage if you go into the arena. But yeah, the Boomy, again, outside of Frenzy, not doing as much. He's in his Frenzy right now, though. So now he's ramping, and he should start to do some damage soon. I get my Earthen Spike here, but I wait for the 3 abilities here to see where the last frontal is going. And as soon as we see where the last frontal is going, I will Earthen Spike and Fate Transfuse. I already Earthen Spike here, and now I can Transfuse as soon as I know that I don't have to move anymore during my Fate Transfusion. And now we get hooked again with the Monk. And I think we just hit each other. Actually Sunder him just to kill him a little bit quicker here to save some time, because I'm kind of worried that the Boomy is not going to be able to kill the banner on his own. And by the way, even after his Frenzy, the Boomy damage is still below me and the Windwalker, so yeah, I blink over here because the banner is still not up. I charge back to kill the banner. I die to the frontal here, so I ank it. I kind of just thought that it was more important for me to get the banner down so that no one else died, even though I already knew that I would die if I go for killing the banner. But I thought in that situation that it was worth it to do it like that. I low-key waste my Doomwinds a little bit, not gonna lie. But I thought that I can use the Doomwinds to save some time on killing the boss, right? Because I didn't think that we would play the trash upstairs, because I didn't see that we still need trash. So I thought flying upstairs, waiting for the RP for the end boss, and then going for the last boss would be enough time to where I would have Doomwinds ready again, basically. Then I saw, oh shit, we're playing this trash. So I don't have Doomwinds for this. It would have been nice if I had it for it. I don't. But yeah, we at least still got Earthen Spike, so we're still doing a little bit more damage than we would usually do without Doomwinds. And yeah, this pack is actually kind of annoying in Fortified, especially with Necrotic. So we just gotta make sure to not die here. We have 3 minutes left. We still have to kill this trash pack, and we still have to play the last boss. So definitely not optimal what's going on here. We do have Bloodlust though. It's a Fortified boss, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Druid will definitely have Frenzy as well. 'During the last fight, in the last phase, so it shouldn't be that bad. So we just gotta make sure to not die here. We have 3 minutes left. We still have to kill this trash pack, and we still have to play the last boss. So definitely not optimal what's going on here. We do have Bloodlust though. It's a Fortified boss, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. 'During the last fight, in the last phase, so it shouldn't be that bad. We cleave them down here evenly, so they both die. No Sanguine healing, very good. And then we just play the last boss. We use cooldowns here. If you play Doom Winds, you can always use 1 Doom Winds on pull here. You will get Doom Winds back earlier than hitting 50% depending on key level. So what you want to do is you want to pretty much just, if you're close to 50% and you get Doom Winds back, you want to hold it until you hit 50% and you use Bloodlust. And then you want to use your second Doom Winds and just go completely ham. You can see everyone is holding everything for 50%. The Windwalker and the Boomy, they just hold everything. I could use Doom Winds, so I can already do a lot of damage even before we Bloodlust, while others can't. The Windwalker actually now used a little bit of cooldowns. I think he used like Images and Bone Dust Brew, so that he will get it back for Bloodlust as well. And I mean, he's doing a little bit of damage at least. The Boomy, obviously, as always, he's not doing anything until Frenzy. And I don't know if he will have Frenzy back like exactly at 50%, but we will see, I guess. So I use another Earthen Spike here, not using my Doom Winds yet. Just sending an Earthen Spike to not sit on it for too long. And then I know that my Earthen Spike will be ready in like 8 seconds, and as soon as that will be ready, because we hit 50% in just a second here, then I will use Bloodlust and then we will just full send it. We have like 1 minute 23 left here. We cleave down the ads a little bit. You can pre-cap stun these, by the way, like if you know that you will stack them up pretty much. 2 seconds before they spawn, you can just drop your cap stun and instantly stun them. We use Bloodlust, Druid is in his Frenzy. I'm doing a ton of single target damage, it's actually kind of insane. Still over 10k damage here. 10.4k, still kind of insane. The Boomy is ramping. I don't think the Boomy can even end his ramp because like the boss will die before that. So even though he's in his Frenzy now, he doesn't even overtake the Monk on this fight. And that's pretty much the key. Monk does 10.1k. I almost do 10k. Pretty good though, honestly, for like a fortified theater. I feel like this is not bad in terms of damage output. And in a second, I think I will also click on the damage breakdown. I can actually skip ahead a bit so you can see my gear as well. I think at the end I will show my gear and the damage breakdown. Yes, there we go. We can pause it right here. You can see I was 249 equipped. Doom Winds Legendary, 29% haste, 28% crit, 11% verse, and then very low mastery, 26%. I played Badge Trinket. Badge Trinket is always my go-to with Doom Winds. That's what I like the most. File, you can see File, even though it was Theater, which File works better on like AoE dungeons, right? Even though it was Theater, it did 3.7% of my damage, which is kinda insane. Wind Fury take almost 4 million damage. Storm Strike almost 2.5 million. Like these numbers, you won't reach that if you play Ascendance, because like all of these Wind Fury attacks and Storm Strikes, not all of them, but most of them are buffed by Earthen Spike, right? So this is just huge. Melee damage almost as much as Chain Lightning. Also very good. Like you can see, the top spells, Wind Fury, Storm Strike, Chain Lightning, Melee, Necrotic Wound, and Crash, all of them are buffed by Earthen Spike, right? And Necrotic Wound, you can see 5.6% of my damage, also very strong. Helps a lot with single target damage. And yeah, what can I say? It's a fun build, it's fun to play. It smooths out the rotation, it's very strong, it works. I can definitely recommend playing it in Theater, in Spires, and pretty much in every Tyrannical key. I'm not saying this is better than Ascendance. It's a niche talent that you can play. It's fun, it's strong, you can play it. It can potentially, in specific keys with specific affixes, be better than Ascendance. Whatever you prefer to play, you can play, go for it. I just wanted to show you guys that this talent is actually not as bad as people think in specific situations. And you can also very much play this in high keys and it works. And that's pretty much the message of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you guys very much for that. Maybe check out my streams if you haven't already. We play keys live, we test a lot of talents there. And yeah, maybe check it out. Leave a follow if you want to. With that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video or in the live stream. Leave a comment with some feedback, that would be nice. And with that being said, I will see you then. Peace.